This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, and faith-focused feature stories with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
Hello again. Welcome to the broadcast. We'll start in the Middle East, where the U.S. blockade of Iran is holding, but the timeline for peace remains elusive. White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt.
We're waiting to hear back from the Iranian regime. The fact that they cannot send a unified message yet just shows how effective Operation Epic Fury truly was, because there's a lot of internal division over there. The president understands that, and so we await their response.
Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo believes the regime is broken.
This is a regime that is trying to figure out who they can talk to. They still fear there's Mossad agents everywhere. They're not sure who's in charge, and that makes it hard for our side, too. We don't know who can actually speak on behalf of the nation.
Experts say it could take 6 months to clear the Strait of Hormuz from all the explosive mines that were placed there by Iran. As the war drags on, there's word today of a change of leadership in the U.S. Navy.
John Phelan is departing the administration effective immediately. The Pentagon gave no reason for Phelan's departure. It comes just weeks after Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth fired the Army's top officer. Phelan had not served in the military. He was a major donor to President Trump's campaign.
Cammie McCormick at the Pentagon. Iran today reportedly deciding against executing 8 women. They were scheduled to be publicly hanged. That did not happen. 4 were released. The other 4 given a lighter sentence. A state of emergency in the state of Georgia. Wildfires are raging as drought conditions worsen. Dozens of homes already lost to the flames. Governor Brian Kemp warns 1,000 more homes could soon be gone. NBC's Aaron Gilchrist is in Waynesville, Georgia.
The fire here grew more than 7 times bigger in just a single day. Since last week, more than 90 wildfires have started across this state, and that's led to a total ban on burning anything outdoors.
Smoke and haze from the fires visible for hundreds of miles around. It's prompted Georgia to issue its first ever outdoor burn ban. The Trump administration today will make a dramatic change to the way cannabis is classified in this country. It will now be reclassified as a Schedule III drug, a move that eases restrictions but does not legalize marijuana at the federal level. Reclassification should clear the way for greater scientific research into the medical uses of marijuana. Virginia's new look congressional map is on hold pending judicial review. A judge has ordered Old Dominion not to certify Tuesday's election results, which gave Democrats a huge advantage for the upcoming midterms. Legal analyst Thane Rosenbaum.
The judge ruled that the election violated Virginia's state constitution, largely because the referendum was held without a 90-day public notice requirement.
Virginia's voter-approved redistricting referendum was in response to similar GOP gerrymandering efforts that favored Republicans in states like Texas. It's the first step toward ending the 3-month-old partial government shutdown. The U.S. Senate has approved a plan that would fund the Department of Homeland Security for 3 years. This would include money for ICE, FEMA, and the U.S. Coast Guard. Democrats are defending the Southern Poverty Law Center amid accusations that left-leaning group was helping to bankroll the same hate groups that it opposes. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer.
It doesn't pass the laugh test. It's about Donald Trump turning the Department of Justice into the Department of Vengeance.
FBI Director Kash Patel.
Money doesn't lie. The charity that supposedly fought the Klan funded the Klan.
The Department of Justice says the Southern Poverty Law Center defrauded donors by using their money to secretly pay undercover informants. The SPLC says those agents were monitoring potential threats of violence. The NFL Draft kicks off tonight in Pittsburgh. It's the first time since 1948 that the Steel City has hosted the draft. The Las Vegas Raiders have the top pick, and it's widely expected that Heisman Trophy winner and Indiana Hoosiers quarterback Fernando Mendoza will go number one. Still to come on the Noon Report, a Thursday edition, saving girls sports. Mets finally win, and Micron ahead of schedule.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams. A pleasant day underway today. Unfortunately, as we head toward the weekend, a change not for the better in our weather. We'll have forecast details in 10.
All right, Kevin, we'll see you then. In the meantime, let's check the stories making news where you live, all across New York and Pennsylvania. School shooting plot in Oneida County, New York. The focus of a crowded community meeting last night at the Clinton Middle School. At that hearing, community members heard from the parent who heroically called 911 and averted a potential disaster. Oneida County Sheriff Robert Mashel.
If you see something, say something. You can say it officially, you can say it unofficially, you can say it anonymously. I don't care how you say it, but we can't be everywhere, and we need the community to work with us. Everybody involved in this from A to Z was extremely cooperative, and I'm grateful, and I'm very, very thankful to them for that.
Police say 3 teenagers were planning to gun down students in the Clinton Middle School cafeteria last Friday. That did not happen because of the actions of that parent. All 3 teens have been expelled from the school. Members of the Amish community gathered in Clinton County, Pennsylvania yesterday, where they remembered a mother and her 6 Amish children who died tragically in a house fire. Services were held for 34-year-old Sarah Stoltzfus and the children, all under the age of 12. They were killed in an explosion at their home in Lamar Township Sunday morning. Neighbor Steve Eisenhower tells WJAC,
"It's crazy. It really is. I went by here the day before, and I saw the little kids on the porch playing. Little girl and her sister left, and it's just tough."
The father of the Amish family was not home at the time. The Pennsylvania State Senate has advanced a bill that would keep men out of women's sports. It requires high schools and colleges label sports teams as male, female, or co-ed. Biological boys would be banned from joining girls' teams. Republican State Senator Judy Ward.
This is about biological sex, not gender identity. Biological male athletes have significant strength and endurance advantages over biological female athletes, creating unfair competition and safety risks.
The legislation faces an uncertain future in the democratically controlled state house. Governor Shapiro has already hinted he will not sign it, even if it makes it to his desk. With prom and graduation season around the corner, New York's No Empty Chair campaign is underway. A special event at the Watkins Glen International Racetrack yesterday gave teens a chance to hear from a NASCAR driver about the dangers of distracted and disabled driving. Every year in America, there are more than 40,000 car crashes involving drivers under the age of 20. New York is the worst state in the nation when it comes to the number of commercial driver's licenses that are granted to illegal immigrants. Southern Tier Congressman Nick Langworthy.
They should be revoked and canceled right away. There's no necessity for us to be hiring illegal immigrants as over-the-road truck drivers.
The federal government is threatening to pull the plug on more than $70 million in transportation funding because of this.
It's real money, and those highway dollars are needed to take care of the roads in our communities.
The U.S. Border Patrol last fall arrested nearly 40 truck drivers at Western New York truck stops who were in the country illegally. Micron's massive computer chip manufacturing facility is ahead of schedule in central New York. An executive says if everything moves as planned, concrete could be poured for the first of 4 facilities by the end of this year. That massive complex is located in the town of Clay, not far from the Thruway. The first fabrication plant will start producing computer chips in 2030. The New York State budget is nearly a month late, and that displeases Assemblywoman Mary Beth Wall.
It's embarrassing. It's absolutely absolutely embarrassing.
The Ballston Spa conservative blasting Governor Hochul for the epidemic of chronically late state budgets.
To me, at this point, and certainly to the people outside of this bubble that are taking a look at this mess, you need to do better.
Immigration reform, auto insurance fraud, and climate change legislation are the sticky wickets holding up this year's budget. The spending plan was due April 1st. New York is suing online platforms Coinbase and Gemini. Those companies are accused of running illegal, unlicensed gambling operations through their online prediction markets. The platforms let users bet on everything from sports to elections, exposing New Yorkers to potential financial loss. Dr. Scott Lang at the University of Buffalo tells Spectrum News how prediction markets work exactly.
Think of trading shares in like a yes or no question. Will this candidate win? Will interest rates go up? Will a team make the playoffs? You buy in at those current odds, and if you're right, you get paid out.
A recent Siena University and St. Bonaventure University survey shows nearly 50% of men ages 18 to 49 have at least one online sports betting account.
We don't even let 18, 19, 20-year-olds go into a casino to gamble. It is a bit worrisome that they are able to have this side door into the casino, this workaround where they're able to place bets at such a young age.
Coinbase and Gemini allow users to buy and sell assets, and now they've added the ability to bet on the outcomes of events from politics to sports. A new study focused on air quality is underway in Pennsylvania's Pocono Mountains. Daniel Mendoza with Pure Air in the Poconos tells WBRE.
We can survive 30 days without food, 3 days without water, but I challenge anyone to hold their breath for more than 5 minutes. The reality is we take about 10 to 12 breaths every single minute of our lives. And it is important to really understand what it is that we're breathing.
A new report from the American Lung Association finds nearly half of all children in this country live in places that get a failing grade for air pollution. If you have old or unwanted prescription drugs in your medicine cabinet, the state of Pennsylvania wants them. Police urging residents to dispose of expired meds through the state's Drug Take-Back Day this coming Saturday. Unused, unwanted, or expired drugs can also be dropped off in New York. A Pennsylvania politician is revving up efforts to crack down on illegal ATV and dirt bike use on city streets. Details on that from Family Life's Brian Query.
State Senator Nick Miller plans to reintroduce legislation aimed at curbing the unlawful use of ATVs and dirt bikes on urban roadways. The proposal would expand a 2022 law by increasing penalties and giving police more authority to address reckless riding, especially in groups. It would also classify fleeing from police on these vehicles under existing laws for eluding officers. Miller says the goal is to improve safety and prevent dangerous behavior in busy communities, while still allowing legal use on designated rural roads. Brian Query, Family Life News.
Thank you, Brian. Pennsylvania politicians are taking aim at a growing deer problem and what they say is a shortage of places to hunt deer. Some state lawmakers argue hunters don't have enough access to land. They're pushing a measure that would encourage landowners and farmers to open up more acreage for hunting. Supporters say expanding access could help control the state's growing deer population. An overabundance of deer has led to increased vehicle crashes, property damage, and a rise in tick-borne illnesses like Lyme disease, which is now in all 67 Pennsylvania counties. A political expert from the Southern Tier is weighing in on the state of things regarding the war with Iran. Dr. Steve Coleman from Elmira, New York, among those who believe the conflict is not going well for us.
Well, I think Donald Trump has gotten himself caught in a political Iranian mousetrap.
Are you afraid that Iran could end up like Iraq or Afghanistan or one of those other countries where a limited military operation turned into a multi-year prolonged engagement?
Yeah, I think the Iranians might continue the asymmetric warfare that they've been waging. So this is bad news for the United States.
How do you win this war apart from regime change? Because to the Revolutionary Guard, they're doing the work of a law, and it's kind of foolish or narrow-minded to think, Dr. Coleman, that this works without a fundamental change in power in Tehran.
You got it, Bob. There has to be a fundamental change in Iran. Otherwise, we're going to get the Islamo-fascists running the place. There's a lot of folks in Iran that don't like the regime, but they don't have any guns. They're not in power.
Yeah, Operation Epic Fury, 2 months old now. It started late February. Here we are towards the end of April. Many people are saying, was it worth it?
Well, I don't think it was worth it. I think Donald Trump didn't think about the next steps. He's impulsive. You know, he talks to Bibi Netanyahu, and Netanyahu says, all the Iranian leaders are going to be in one room at a certain time in a certain place. We can take them all out, and Trump goes ahead and does it. And then we have a war with Iran, and the Iranians seem to be experts at asymmetric warfare, just like the Ukrainians, actually. The Ukrainians are doing quite well against Russia because they've mastered how to combat a giant and do it successfully. Well, Iran is certainly not a giant. It's a mouse, but Donald Trump is the one in the mousetrap.
That is Dr. Steve Coleman from Elmira, New York, weighing in on the state of the war. Sports next. We call it the 2-minute drill on the Family Life Noon Report.
Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snavely. Bob, we have to start with the Amazons. They won. The 12-game losing streak is over. The Mets back in the win column after a go-ahead RBI single in the 8th inning by Mark Vientos. That run held up, and that gave New York a 3-2 victory over the Twins. Max Fried picked up his 3rd win of the season, striking out 9 Red Sox over 8 shutout innings. 4-1 your final. Around the horn, your winners were the Marlins, Rays, Astros, Orioles, Angels, Mariners, Tigers, Braves, Cubs. The Cubs handed the Phillies their 8th straight loss, 7-2. The Rockies, D-backs, Giants, and Pirates. The Pirates took down the Rangers 8-4. O'Neal Cruz hit the hardest home run in the majors this season with a 9th inning 3-run shot that went off the top of the foul pole. The ball left his bat at almost 117 miles per hour. On the ice, the Flyers are on the verge of eliminating the Penguins after Philly took a 5-2 decision over Pittsburgh. Philadelphia now up 3-0 in the series. Trevor Zegras, Rasmus Ristolainen, Nick Seeler, Noah Cates, and Owen Tippett all lit the lamp for the Flyers. The Ducks even their series had won with a 6-4 victory over Edmonton, and the Stars grabbed a 2-1 lead over Minnesota with a 4-3 2-overtime game victory. On to the NBA. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored 37 points to lead Oklahoma City over Phoenix 120-107. The Thunder are up 2-0 in that series. And in Detroit, Cade Cunningham had 27 points and 11 assists to lead the Pistons to a 98-83 victory over Orlando. That is a look at sports.
All right, thank you, Randy. Still to come on the Noon Report, mail-order abortions, Georgia wildfires, and Virginia vote on hold.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. A few weeks ago, a man who should remain unnamed but claims to be a Christian called The Hiding Place one of the most subversive books around. According to his framing, Corrie ten Boom, who hid Jews during World War II, was a villain who cooperated with a communist and was guilty of, quote, shielding Christ's enemies. He's a recent example of what are growing fringes from both the left and the right, who claim the mantle of Christianity while at the same time preaching a false and misleading gospel. Now, of course, each side is quick to call out the other whenever they perceive them to be guilty of misrepresenting Christianity. And there are plenty of examples. From the left come politicians such as James Tallarico and so-called Christian clergy who offer blessings for abortion clinics. In a 2023 book, The Godless Crusade, author Tobias Creamer described right-wing groups in Germany, France, and the U.S. who claimed to be fighting for Christian civilization, but made the Christian part of that whole formulation quite secondary. In Europe, there are even some political movements with Christian in their names who openly oppose letting religious elements corrupt their social agendas. About a decade ago, New York Times columnist Ross Douthat quipped, "If you dislike the religious right, wait till you meet the post-religious right." And the following year, Pascal Emmanuel Gorby described the post-Christian right as having more in common with a European secular blood and soil nationalism than the philosophical and political conservatism that emerged in the English-speaking world. That kind of conservatism is, as John Ehret put it recently, right-wing hierarchical thought shorn of a Christian mooring. A so-called Christian worldview, absent anything genuinely Christian, is, he went on to say, quite dangerous. Quote, "The challenge of the post-Christian right is not that its ideas are incoherent and confused, born of healthy instincts which simply need to be channeled in a sounder theological direction. The challenge is that these ideas are in fact deeply coherent and taken together represent a seductive alternative to a faith perceived as too anemic to withstand the coming technological and social storm. Of course, justifying non-Christian practices using the faith as cover is not anything new. But of course, that does not make the justification of grossly anti-Semitic or racist ideas any less evil. In many cases, an affectation of Christianity is used as a thin veneer for flagrantly anti-Christian values. And the so-called dissident right voices who do as much while claiming the name of Christ are really no different from progressives who deck church walls with rainbow flags, are sexually transgressive and pro-abortion, and reduce the gospel down to something silly like radical inclusivity. As John Ehret concluded in his article, any victory for so-called conservatism, won through forfeiting the Christian ethic of active love, will prove a Pyrrhic one. There are other paths and other strategies. Perhaps knowing what time it is means choosing life and mercy and the possibility of forgiveness. We can still choose to see in the eyes and hands of all those who share our nature the image of God." End quote. See, a Christian conservatism without Christ is no more Christian than a Christian progressivism is without Christ. Being involved in the public square today will, of course, inevitably mean getting into the mess of the so-called culture wars. It's unavoidable, in fact. Still, to paraphrase Christ himself, it does not profit us in the least to even win the whole world in the name of Christianity if in the process we lose what makes Christianity Christian. And that, of course, is Christ. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet with Breakpoint.
Thank you, John. Weather where you live with meteorologist Kevin Williams. Next.
Good afternoon. For this afternoon, sunshine will abound, though there will be a little patchy cloudiness at times across parts of central New York and areas close to Lake Ontario. High temperatures today ranging from the 60s to low 70s, generally cooler near the shores of Lake Erie and Ontario. For tonight, clear to partly cloudy, low temps, mid-30s to mid-40s. Tomorrow, partly sunny, a shower or two near western Pennsylvania, high temps, mid-50s to mid-60s. Cloudy, cool Saturday with showers and high temperatures in the 50s to near 60.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. This is the Noon Report on Family Life. I'm your host, Bob Price. Great to have you with us today, Thursday, April 23rd. Here's what's going on. Still waiting on Iran. The regime is yet to respond to peace overtures from the Trump administration. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
Well, the president, the cards are in his hands. The United States maintains control over the situation. He has all of the leverage.
CENTCOM says the U.S. Navy's intercepted 30 ships in the Strait of Hormuz since the blockade took effect April 13th. The Washington Post claims it could take 6 months to clear that strategic waterway of the explosive mines that were placed there by Iran. There's been a major shakeup at the Pentagon. U.S. Navy Secretary John Phelan's been ousted from his position. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez.
This is the latest in a string of firings at the Pentagon, and it came as a surprise to many in Congress. Now, multiple sources say tensions had been mounting between John Phelan and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth well before the war.
A Virginia judge is pumping the brakes on a closely watched redistricting referendum that was narrowly approved by voters earlier this week. The new look congressional maps on hold for now, pending judicial review. The gerrymandering effort heavily favors Democrats over Republicans in the upcoming midterm elections. The state of Georgia has issued its its first ever outdoor burn ban as wildfires continue to rage along the coast. Since last week, more than 90 wildfires have started in Georgia. 50 homes have been destroyed. 1,000 more are in danger. Governor Brian Kemp.
All of Georgia is in a severe drought right now.
Smoke from these fires is visible for hundreds of miles, including downtown Atlanta, neighboring Florida. Over 100 fires are now burning out of control. Kids don't come cheap these days, and a new study shows they're getting even more expensive.
Expecting? Congratulations. Hope you saved money. An annual Lending Tree study finds the average cost to raise that bundle of joy through age 18 is now more than $303,000. That's up almost 2% from its report last year, and it includes everything from rent or mortgage to daycare to education. The most expensive state, Hawaii, where parents will spend nearly $413,000. The cheapest state, Alabama, at just over $212,000. I'm Daria Albinger.
This is the Noon Report for Thursday on Family Life.
This is Faith Under Fire. We take you straight to the front lines of religious battlegrounds. I'm your host, Sarah Harnish. With me today, Alliance Defending Freedom's Chelsea Yeoman. We're talking mail order abortion. Let's start with the FDA versus the state of Louisiana. It's actually a big deal for us, too, in New York and Pennsylvania because it has to do with mail order abortions, abortifacients that are shipped through the mail like mifepristone. Can you tell me about the case?
Yes, this case is, frankly, it's a tragedy of a case, and I wish that I could say it's a rare situation, but unfortunately, in the day and age we live in, it's not. We represent an incredible woman, Rosalie Markizic, and her boyfriend forced her to take abortion drugs. He ordered them online, which thanks to the FDA's approval where there's no longer in-person dispensing required. These drugs are readily available on websites, online. I worked for a pregnancy resource center who had women showing up with drugs from eBay. They're very pervasive, and thanks to the FDA's mail order policy, he was able to get a hold of those drugs, and he forced his girlfriend to take them, and she lost the child. And it's a really horrific situation, and I wish it wasn't as common as it is, but it's definitely a growing problem in the last few years.
This is a case about states' rights. Can an entire state say no to abortion by mail, especially if it's coming from large states that produce these drugs like New York that have completely different laws on abortion? The people in Louisiana voted for their laws. They want protection of life. And it's a big case because it's against the FDA. It's not an individual. It's not one company. It's the national board that regulates the sale of these drugs in all 50 states. You mentioned that it's sad what's happening with this case. What happens next? What just happened and what's coming?
Yes, you're correct. There's so many complications with Louisiana's right to stop these drugs from flowing. We've got over 600 drugs a month flowing into Louisiana. That's 600 children every single month who should see their first birthday and take their first breaths who are not because of these out-of-state illicit drug traffickers from New York and Colorado and many other states. Louisiana is having a hard time stopping them because of shield laws. The blue states have passed shield laws that say you can't even so much as file a case against those doctors in their courts of law. And what that means is Louisiana needs to take it to the top, to the federal government, and say, FDA, control the distribution of these drugs that they unlawfully approved. They have never tested the safety of these drugs being done without in-person physician oversight or care from a doctor. And what we're seeing are the ramifications like our case where our client was forced to take these drugs, parents force their daughters to take these drugs, or they end up with mass complications. 1 in 20 women will end up in the ER with complications like sepsis and hemorrhage or needing surgical intervention. So it's very serious, and it starts at the top with the FDA.
Where is the case at right now?
Yeah, so we filed this case, and the U.S. District Judge in Louisiana, he said, well, the FDA has currently committed to reviewing whether the drug is safe or is not. We know there's a lot of evidence that indicates this drug is not safe. safe in any context, particularly where a child dies when it's taken. But the FDA is going to be reviewing their safety protocols, and they have about 6 months now, the judge said, to get that report finalized. They're going to hold the case. He stayed the case there at the district court level until the FDA's findings are rendered. However, we at AAF are not going to wait, and we know that women and children's lives are in the balance, and in those 6 months, the damage that could be wrought is astronomical and important. One child and one woman injured is too many. We are going to appeal to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals and hope for a full injunction against the mail order distribution of these drugs.
We've been watching cases on mifepristone and drugs like it for a couple of years now. To me, when you said there's a 6-month limit, that was very encouraging because I feel like this has been going on for a while. But I love that ADF is proactive in filing that appeal to get it to move along faster.
Yes, we want to have it reviewed quickly and hope for an injunction. And in the interim, of course, the FDA can continue to do the studies they should have done long ago. They've had a lot of time to do that. And so we're hopeful for a better outcome. We're hopeful that these pills will stop flowing into Louisiana, and it would set a precedent to many of the other states where these drugs are illegally flowing.
Why is this case so important to Alliance Defending Freedom?
Lives are at stake. Literal children's lives are at stake with a case like this. And if you can stop those drugs from flowing in, you can save lives. And the second is women's lives are at stake. Their health and well-being is at stake, and their own freedom and autonomy to make decisions for themselves. You know, when you allow mail order abortion, when you don't require these drugs to be distributed in person, what you're doing is propping up abusive partners, parents, an entire trafficking industry to continue perpetuating their abuse against women. And we're here to stand in the gap against all of that.
Learn more at adflegal.org.
All right, thank you very much, Sarah. The name of the program is Faith Under Fire. It comes your way every Thursday during the Noon Report, or you can catch it online anytime at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and our website, familylife.org. And finally, at noon today, it is Take Our Children to Work Day, don't you know? The annual event encourages moms and dads to bring along the little ones to their place of employment, if only for a day. It was established in 1993 by the Take Our Daughters and Sons to Work Foundation. That not-for-profit is the successor to the Gloria Steinem-inspired Take Our Daughters to Work Day, which aimed to make girls more visible in the workplace. It was expanded to include boys back in 2003 and has been running strong ever since. Celebrated every fourth Thursday in April, and participants are encouraged to share their experiences today on social media with the hashtag Take Our Children to Work Day. Enjoy the office, kiddos. And that's our world, the world we live in and work in. Thursday, April 23rd. I'm Bob Price, Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.